everyone, my name is Sean, and this is Power Made Perfect, where we help you to see how the Lord uses your weakness and brokenness to display His glory. So today we're discussing what I learned from 2020 and 2021, which have been just crazy years for everybody. And for some people as extreme as losing loved ones, and for other people, really just having to face being isolated for quite some time. But today I want to go over, some of the things that I went through 2020 and 2021 briefly, and then kind of talk about what God has taught me through those things, and hopefully it can add some value to your life. So before I get into some of the brief things that I went through 2020 and 2021, I just want to say that I understand that a lot of people have had a lot of different experiences that would have been a lot worse than what I'm about to mention, and I'm not trying to brag at all when I say these things. This is more of just to give a little bit of backstory to the lessons that I've learned. So let's get started. Man, this 2020 was such a crazy year. My wife and I were planning on getting married in the beginning of 2020, and so right when the pandemic hit, that was right around the time when we were planning to get married. It was in May. But some of the biggest things that happened to me right at first was I lost my job right before our wedding, about 5 days beforehand, and that just threw us through a loop, obviously. And I did not think that I would be let go, but my company did mass layoffs where I was employed at the time. And then not only that, but obviously with all the restrictions that were in place at the time, we had to, within a very short period of time, constrict how many people we had to invite to our wedding. So we had to cancel all of our plans, restructure everything, literally within, I think it was like less than a week from the day, a week out from when we were planning our wedding. We had to change all of these things. And mainly that was because the vendor canceled on us. And then fast forward a few months after our wedding, and after we got back from our small honeymoon that we had to replan, there was a lot of relational issues that we had to deal with people that were very close to us. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but there was just a lot of pain and just a lot of things that really hurt us, and we had to work through those things. And that also made the beginning of our marriage quite difficult as well. And then, as I alluded to before with losing my job at first, I was still jobless, at the months following after our wedding, and I ended up going through 3 different jobs throughout 2020 and 2021. So I had 3 separate jobs, and I will say that one of those jobs was one of the most toxic jobs I've ever had in my life, and so there was just a lot of pressure in terms of the relationship issues around us, the struggles that my wife and I had within the first year of marriage because of those struggles, the really harsh work environment, shortage of money, and really just all these things piling on top of each other created a lot of pressure in my life. And so I felt like all of that stuff on top of one another, it just felt like there was an unbelievable weight on me. I felt like I was failing as a husband. I felt like I was failing in the relationships around us. I felt like I wasn't leading us well. I also hated my job that I was in, and I wanted to get out of it so bad, but I couldn't, given the circumstances that we were in and not being able to find another job. And it left me just really questioning why God put me in that position, why I was there, why I was going through all this hardship. I thought that, I was questioning, was I not being faithful? Was I to the Lord? Was I that I have some serious issue that I didn't know, and was he, was this some type of wrath being put down on me, um, and it left me honestly crying some nights, and just begging the Lord to take it away and change our circumstances, and it stayed like that for a while. Um, you know, it was really, it wasn't up until recently that things have really started to get better. Um, but it really crushed me, and it really broke me down. However, now that I'm looking back at that hardship and the pain that I went through, I now see that God was trying to teach me some really valuable lessons that I needed to be taught in my life. And what was revealed to me was a lot of sinful desires and a lot of selfish desires that I didn't even realize were there, that He was working out of me and working through me. And really, some of the biggest lessons that I've learned coming out of these 3 years, I can say in three separate separate things that I've learned. And that first one is, life is supposed to point towards God and not ourselves. And that seems pretty elementary at first, and that's something that I thought I had a really good grasp on before these last couple years, but I just didn't really know how much I wasn't living that out and how much I didn't truly believe that, because for me, as an example, like I was in a Bible study, and I remember there was these other individuals in the Bible study who were so smart, and they knew so much, and they went to Bible school, and they always had such great things to say. And I would get upset that they said so many smart things and had so many good things to say, and I'd get upset because I was like, well, if they have all these good things to say, then I might as well just not say anything. And I would get angry. And I know that, sounds silly now, but at the time, I was genuinely angry, and I didn't even realize how selfish that was, because I guess the moral of what I'm trying to say is this, that, what I've learned is that whether you're strong or weak in something, whether you're rich or poor, or whether you're, triumphant in something or maybe embarrassed in something even, God uses that for His glory, and He does not put those things to waste. If you're rebuked, and it's in the presence of others, well then, that's not, that might hurt. That's humble pie is hard to swallow, but it points to God and His glory, and it speaks to truth. And that's what I've learned, is to not love when things work out for me, but to love when things go according to God's will. And so that's been a huge lesson for me. And then the second thing that I learned ties pretty heavily into the first one. However, life is just so much more worthwhile to live and serve for others rather than others serve you, or for you to live for yourself. And what I mean by that is, what I've come to find is, like, when I try to do things according to my plans, when I try to have things work out around me so that they fit my schedule and my plans and how I want to do things, it makes you miserable, because then you start thinking about yourself so much that you really start putting all these things on yourself and the world on your shoulders, and we were not meant to function that way. We can't handle that. We can't handle those pressures, and also Jesus came as a servant when He came to this world to save us all. He didn't come as a triumphant, knight on a horse, at least, not in his first coming. But he came as a servant, and he came to be with others, be with those that are lowly, be with those that are broken, and to give and to serve. And that's what we're called to. And it's just, I've found how much more rewarding life is and how much more worth life is to live when you live according to that. And the whole world tries to tell you differently, that it's all about you, what you can acquire, and all these things. But as the Bible says, we do not store our treasures in earthly possessions, because those will be destroyed, eaten away by moths, all those things. But we store our treasures in heavenly things, just like Jesus did. And the third thing that I learned is that trials and the hard times that we go through in life are blessings that are both needed and they're beautiful. And I think something that encapsulates perfectly why it's beautiful is found in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 7. Let's go there now. So it says here, "Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father?" And while I knew that this verse existed, and while I had this on the back burner in my mind before, again, when I really just believed that, and I went through those trials, and I came out on the other side, and seeing how much I've grown as a person, it really, and as a follower of Christ, it really showed me just how much God loved me, because I saw in a lot of places where I was ignorant before, that I'm wiser now, and I would never want to take a step back into those ways again. And I'm just so grateful that God brought me out of those ways. And so yeah, just knowing that he sees us as sons and daughters who he disciplines for our benefit, it's just it just makes me feel closer to him, and just sees him more as a dad. And not only that, but kind of what I alluded to a little bit in speaking about that is the fact that we become more like Christ through it, that we grow as people, we grow as followers of Jesus, that we might be refined, and the world looks in on us and sees how we live differently, and a lot of those things aren't possible a lot of times without going through some sort of trial and pain, and it gives you more compassion to help others who might be going through the same things or whatnot, which is kind of the reason why I started this channel. So yeah, I guess last thing on that is just persevering through the trial is so worth it. Whatever it is that you're going through, God works through others to help us and to be there for us, and in some cases, he might intervene with his own hand, and some rare cases from what I've seen, but a lot of the times, just the persevering through those situations, they're just so worth it at the end, yeah, it's just a glorious thing. And so I guess the last thing I just want to say is that it's worth persevering through till the end. It's always worth it. So those are the 3 big lessons that I learned through the last 2 years. I hope that you found it helpful and life-giving. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe, and please hit the like on this video, the like button. And also, if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, then you can click somewhere over here, and there'll be some more options for you to click on. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.